at 9. Good night.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you an exclusive interview with Sujata Chaturvedi, Sports Secretary, on impressive and shining performance of Indian sportspersons. Interviewer is Gaura Dhawanlal, anchor.
Hello and welcome to our program. Sports, an area and arena in which India has always been wanting to shine. And now for the past few years, in all international and national championships, not only have we been performing very well, we're also setting records that, of course, now we're hoping to surpass. So today we will be speaking on the impressive and shining performance of Indian sportspersons. Please join me in welcoming to the program Sujata Chaturvedi, Sports Secretary. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Gaura. It's a pleasure to join this program.
I think sports is an area that all of us either are indulging in or partaking of ourselves, or are extremely passionate about, even if we are sitting on our couches and our armchairs. India's performance has been stellar in the past few years, in the past championships, both at the national and the international level. So wanting to, first of all, get an overview, and this is an area we have been struggling for a long time actually to bring home medals. What really has been the root cause or the purpose behind this?
For any country to show its potential and power, it's important to win medals in international competitions. To that end, in the last several years, the prime driver and motivation for Government of India to take Indian sports to the next level has been the absolute interest and leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, in terms of the interest that he has shown in sports and in terms of the help and interventions that Government of India has provided for sports. Let me start by telling you some figures that the budget for the department has been increasing, and our flagship program, the Khelo India scheme, has seen an increase from rupees 666 crores in financial year 2023 to rupees 1,000 crores in the current year. So these are the kind of steps that have been taken, and no wonder that we are able to pump in a lot more resources which are very, very necessary in the equipment, training, selection, events that are crucial for our athletes to go abroad and train for.
Right. When you talk of budgets, one of the first thoughts that comes to one's mind is the difference between an outlay and an outcome. And this is one area where the outlays have been specified and the outcomes have been commensurate with that. So what really has been the delivery mechanism of these outlays, transforming them into outcomes?
There have been many interventions which were much needed. They have all come in the recent years, including the flagship Khelo India scheme that I just talked about. The Khelo India scheme is an omnibus scheme where there are many verticals. So the verticals have been designed in such a way that all aspects of the sports universe are taken care of in some way or the other. And after the Rio Olympics, Government of India made some fundamental changes in the way we deal with Olympic sports. So we have now a scheme called the Target Olympic Podium Scheme TOPS, where we select the most elite athletes of India and provide them the best possible training and resources in order that they can compete with the best in the world. And this scheme is phenomenally different from everything that used to happen before, where the athletes did not get the kind of attention and care that they deserve if we want them to win medals. Let me also tell you that wherever there are sporting successes globally or wherever there are medals won in international competitions, there is a lot of investment in terms of the training of the athlete, in terms of providing support to that athlete, in terms of the diet and the food supplements of the athlete, in terms of so many things that the athletes get world over. Now in India, after the interventions that I mentioned, we have for the first time started providing these interventions to our athletes. And you can see the results already.
Right. In fact, it's interesting you mentioned about the support, and I think one of the areas that support is also being given is in terms of an attitude towards sports and winning, and mental support, because I think they say the champions are also made in the head. So your views on this, please.
You could not have put it better, Gaura. The thing is, the entire spectrum of sports science, which goes from simple medical attention, injury management, training, conditioning, all that, to the extent of providing psychologists, was not so nicely and freely available to our athletes in India until recent times.
Right.
But key interventions that I mentioned to you have led to a situation where we have been able to introduce all these elements into the life of the athletes who are our stars, and even the ones who are in the budding age group. So now, if you look at the team which went to the Asian Games recently held at Hangzhou in China, there was a news report that for the first time, the team has a large number of physiotherapists, technical people, support staff, including psychologists. And that has made a great difference to the performance of the athletes' international competitions. And as you know, our team did a very good job at a number of medals, which is 107.
Absolutely. In fact, now when you hear interviews or you hear conversations with people who participated other than the winners, you can definitely feel there's a change in the approach and the pulse of how these people see representing India abroad. More secure, more confident, and definitely more supported. And I think one is, of course, the interventions that one has, but one is the feeling that you're able to generate within the ecosystem, which then becomes like a virtuous cycle of nourishing the ecosystem by itself.
See, one of the things that older athletes who are no longer active talk about, they say that in the earlier times when they used to go and play abroad, and when they used to come back with a medal or say without one, the flavor that they would get was of sheer neglect. And now the kind of interventions that we have, there are a lot of interventions where there is a proper send-off to the athletes when they're going. They're provided with things well in advance. Wherever they go, there is support. When they come back, they're received regardless of whether they won or lost. They participated, which is important. There's a lot of coverage in the media. There is active reporting of the events from wherever they're happening. There's a lot of support in social media to our athletes. Earlier, not many people knew our sports persons outside of, let's say, cricket, but now there are many stars who invoke a great love and affection among the people at large and who serve as role models to the youngsters. So the attitudinal change in terms of how they are treated, how they are welcomed, how they are received, how they are greeted, and how the nation shows its gratitude to them for having, flown our flag high is something that all of them talk about. And the older athletes say that if we had this kind of support, we would have done wonders. So that is very heartening to see. And I think it is a very important aspect of how athletes are made to feel welcome about what they do, and they're made to feel important, and they serve as great role models for our country.
You're right. In fact, the word role model is so critical because now in today's scenario, if you have the right role models with the right reasons, and I think that by itself is inspirational, because dignity and respect, and these are two words because every sports person goes through such intensive training. It's actually sacrifice of so many other things which normal young people would do. And somewhere to validate that and give that dignity and respect, irrespective of, whether there's recognition for the medals, but there's recognition for their participation. That's a top-down filtering from the Prime Minister, and I think somewhere the personal effort that he makes, that is showing in all spheres.
You are absolutely right, and it is an absolute privilege to see these people and the joy, in their whole being when they interact with him, and their ability to get that kind of inspiration for the next round of competitions wherever they are facing them.
Right. Wanting to now draw your attention to the Khelo India, and I think also sports infrastructure at the ground level, because it's in the villages, it's in the small towns where, children get exposed to this, and that's where you pick up that beautiful flame of passion coming in and you pick up these bright sparks. So ground level infrastructure, a lot of investment has gone in there also?
Yes, indeed. And like I mentioned a little while ago, there is a vertical in the Khelo India scheme whereby we provide funds for creation of sports infrastructure all over the country on part of Government of India. And through this route, we have now over 350 projects that have been started and are at various stages of completion. And it is a good mix of all types of sports infrastructure depending on the local demand. And besides that, let me also tell you about the Khelo India centers. We have now over 1200 Khelo India centers sanctioned for the whole country. So the Khelo India Center concept works at the district level where there is an existing sports facility which may or may not be in a great shape. So we help that particular center to come up as a Khelo India Center for the district. The system also has a beautiful design whereby a past champion athlete in that area, because there are many of them, he or she gets to be the head of that Khelo India Center as the trainer, as the coach. There is a component of capital investment in terms of buying sporting equipment for that center and a component of salary for champion athlete to be paid. All these things put together help that Khelo India Center to become a nursery of talent in that particular district. So we have established, of course, the center is established by the state governments, by the UT governments, but we collaborate with them, and we have now been able to activate more than 700 such centers all over the country where a champion athlete is training the young people in that area on a selected sport discipline. And besides these district centers, each state also has a Khelo India State Center of Excellence for which we provide the viability gap funding. So this is again an existing sports facility, perhaps in a bigger, let's say the capital of the state, where there are particular norms that have to be followed in terms of residential facility, training facility. And there also we provide the viability gap funding under Khelo India for that particular center to come up as the best training center in that state. So we have now many states which have this facility coming up. And this is a way in which we are helping with the infrastructure. And let me also add that in terms of sports being a state subject in the constitution, a lot of work is also being done by the state governments themselves in terms of creating sports infrastructure and upgrading the existing infrastructure.
Right. We've seen over time that for sustainability of any institution or any organization, community participation, the role of the community has always played an important role. So is something happening in that? Are you seeing a change in that also?
There are many initiatives that go into the making of a sporting nation. And one of the very big initiatives that was taken again under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister was the Fit India campaign, which was launched a few years ago, just before COVID. And as a part of that Fit India campaign, he gave a mantra, fitness ka dose aadha ghanta roz. So that has awakened the feeling of, trying to be fit, trying to be well in crores of people. And we undertake a lot of activities throughout the year in the Fit India vertical, which is now a part of the Khelo India scheme, where people go for these marathons and yoga sun activities and many group activities and sports. And besides this, there is a vertical under Khelo India, which is about inclusivity in sports. So there we have started a movement called Asmita, which is essentially a women's sports vertical. So we collect a lot of women to play various types of sports in various women's leagues, which are held in various cities of the country. And locally, they are very popular. And we have a portal which is used to register all these players. And we are trying to encourage women to come out and play on Women's Day and other important days. And we feel that once all the people take interest in fitness, we have young girls and women of all age groups trying to come out and play. And we have a lot of Fit India activities in schools. We have a School Fit India Week. So many things are done across the year that it creates an atmosphere of great enthusiasm and interest in sports. So in all possible ways, we are trying to encourage people to start taking interest in sports, as well as, use the opportunity to make their families, their youngsters all join the great movement of sports in this country.
It's wonderful. From what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like celebrations. How do you make sports a part of your celebratory events coming out on Women's Day and on different things? And I think we learn and we imbibe the best through celebrations. Thank you so much, Sujata Chaturvedi, for joining us on the program today.
Thank you so much.
You were listening to an exclusive interview with Sujata Chaturvedi, Sports Secretary, on impressive and shining performance of Indian sports person. The interviewer was Gaura Dhawan Lal, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928 909 4044.